Well, a lot of action, of course, driving stocks today and throughout the week, and technology was a big part of it. So to talk more about that, I want to bring in Ray Wang, CEO of Constellation Research and co-chair of the AI Forum. Ray, it's always good to see you, joining us from Chicago early this morning. And what do you make of the technology developments that we've seen this week, specifically Nvidia's $1 billion plus investment in Intel?
That is a great place to start. And happy Friday. I mean, a 10% stake by Nvidia. Intel's going to deliver what's called system on chips. That's the ability to take their famed GPUs, tie it back to the old world of CPUs that Intel has, and really actually connect that with one of their technologies called NVLink. What that does, it means better gaming desktops, AI laptop processors, and accelerated processor units. And so it looks like a win-win for Nvidia getting into AMD's space, and a win-win for Intel being able to create a lifeline to actually get them to produce chips that are going to be for the next generation.
What does this do to President Trump's turnaround plan for Intel and, of course, the government stake in that company?
Well, if you look at the shares, they're doing pretty well when they picked it up. And so what you're seeing is like a boost for the Intel shares, but there's still headwinds dealing with the foundry. The question is really, are we going to make chips in the US? And is Intel going to do that? And I think that question still remains out there. But if you can get the volume and the orders up, you get people interested in these new chips, there's a shot here.
Yeah. You know, another storyline that I see developing this morning is President Donald Trump and China's President Xi Jinping having a call on a TikTok deal, which seems to be underway at the moment. Ray, anything that you're following as that news develops?
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is to see how, the work that Oracle has been doing in the background, the work that Silver Lake wants to get this in. I mean, a lot of this is really going to be, was this really about national security or was it not about national security? But the question comes down to, what will happen with the core algorithm that makes TikTok special? Does that actually come back to the US? Is it managed by a company in the US, or is that going to be managed by ByteDance, which is based in China? That's the question that's out there.
Yeah, going back to Nvidia, because we know it does power the major indices, certainly the S&P 500, that is, as it is one of the most valuable companies out there. I see that it did spend over $900 million to hire the Fabrica CEO and license the AI startup's technology. What does that mean for Nvidia?
Yeah, I mean, look, Nvidia is still in the lead, but if you think about where the future is, Nvidia has been spending a lot of time investing in other startups, investing in acquisitions and talent and hire. I mean, you've got to look at it this way. I mean, if you're an Nvidia engineer and you started in '99, you could retire now. And so, of course, they're looking at what they do with the technologies that are in the future. And of course, what are they doing with the talent that they're going to need to bring on for the next 5 to 10 years?
Yeah. How impactful do you think Nvidia's investment in Intel can really be?
Yeah, so I think what it's going to do is really just give Nvidia an edge against AMD, who's been gaining ground. They've been gaining ground in these CPU and GPU integrated offerings. And this is one of the places where AMD has been making headway, not just in consumer chips, but also in the fact in the data center, which is where we're going to have to bring the GPU and the CPU technologies. The other piece is what happens at the edge. We think AI is actually going to be bigger at the edge, like with devices. These devices are going to play a bigger role when we think about where the future is, because AI is going to be decentralized, not centralized like it is today.
I was at an event earlier this week on Wednesday, Ray, and I had the chance to speak with Evan Spiegel, the CEO of Snap. He is transforming that company, I'm sure as you know, into more of an AI and an AR company, specifically with spectacles and some key goals that he has over these next 12 months. What are you watching when it comes to Snap?
Well, you know what? These are the future, but not exactly these glasses. But what you're thinking about is that integration capability. I mean, you already saw the launch with Meta, right? The ability to do, and you saw at Apple, the ability to do that in-ear translation. We're really trying to bring the physical senses into the AI world, whether it's everything but smell, we hope. But that's the idea. We're trying to bring it all together into one area. And especially if you're a social network, the future really is the ability to capture things, take a picture, buy them, be able to share things, bring stuff into context, augment our capabilities. They'll be like, oh, wait, that looks like Ray. I remember meeting him here 5 years ago. That creates the founding point for this conversation and a starter point. I mean, that's what we're wanting to do. And I think it's going to be in this new form factor in spectacles and glasses, as opposed to going back to the phone. The phone will still play a big role, but the main point of interface will be here and will be touch and other types of gestures.
What are other companies in that trend that you think are poised to win, Ray?
Yeah, so this is why I think it's very important to look at Meta, to look at what's happening with LinkedIn in the long run. That's an area where they can take advantage and build that out. But it's any company, as we wrote in my book, Everybody Wants to Rule the World, really thinking about the largest network. What's the biggest number you have inside your organization? And what you're ultimately building is what we call a data inked company. Companies that are taking the data, the networks, and putting them together to create brand new revenue models.
All right, Ray Wang is the CEO of Constellation Research and co-chair of the AI Forum. Ray, great to see you this morning, and thanks for getting up a little early in Chicago there.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Great to see you.